All right, I'm gonna do a tour of my chicken coop that I made out of salvaged material. It's all recycled. I had to buy a few things from the stores, but just want to go over some of the problems I ran into with the design and share with you guys so that you can make decisions for yourselves on if you want to try to build a salvaged chicken coop. The biggest problem that I've run into is the sparrows. See, there's one in there right now. These are the English barn sparrows or whatever. They're a non-native invasive species that really like chicken feed. My chicken feed usage went double once the neighborhood sparrows found out that they could get in and get a free lunch. And for some reason, the chickens were pretty happy with just sharing their lunch. So I'm gonna go over the design real quick that I did. A lot of this was reclaimed material. And so I designed this to eventually move out to the country because I'm in the city and I rent, and I designed this to be mobile. There's no foundation. It's just sitting on the ground. So the design I chose, what I did is I took scrap fencing and then I ran rebar down the edge of the fencing. And then I would weld the top one, and I'd weld the bottom one. And then I would cut pieces of rebar to connect from here to my corner post. And then on the other side, I would stretch it with another piece. Weld here, up here, put a cross member in. And I was doing this to protect against coyotes. Even at the park here in town, across the street from my house, I've seen 15 coyotes running around. Probably they could smell my chickens. So I did that, but then the sparrows came. The sparrows could fly right through this. So if you're going to stay in the city where you don't have to worry about predators getting in, because I've never seen a coyote in my yard, but I have seen them outside across the street in the park. So this was a little bit overkill, seeing as how I haven't moved it to the country yet. So what I ended up doing is this is all reclaimed and free. Put this over it. And then on the other wing, I eventually got aviary netting, which you can get from your feed store. And I got that and I wrapped it around the whole thing. And it was a lot easier to just take self-tapping screws and then just go down and then wrap around the whole coop. Whereas with this stuff, I wish I'd done aviary on this side, because instead we cut each of these individually and fasten them around to every hole. Even that wasn't enough. You can see, like, even right here where this latch is, the sparrows were getting in. I had to weld a piece of rebar in here so that they couldn't make the turn, but they wouldn't even slip in through here. So sparrows are the bane of my existence. But all of this was reclaimed. This is the mounting channel that has the holes in it that they use to mount plumbing and stuff. And what I found was a good design is I just would weld one upright, weld the other one down that way, another than there. And then this piece just slips in, and then you just put your roof on. A few problems I had with the roof is that this pipe was off for the pattern of that. So it was really hard to screw down. Something else that was really, really hard to screw down is I used a lot of bed frames, angle iron, and you will go through about 3 or 4 self-tappers before you get through the bed frame. Bed frames are hardened steel. They're kind of, you know, just like horseshoes. They're not a standard mild steel. You'll ruin drill bits trying to drill through them. So, I mean, I kind of knew that going into it, but I didn't really think it was a big deal until I went to go screw the roof on. And now, knowing that, I wish I would have just used some angle iron that I had that was mild steel. Since building it, like I said, I've had to go through and do a lot of stuff to keep the sparrows out. Because I mean, we put this stuff in and we put this stuff in, but then that, I mean, they were even getting in through in between the rebar and the space right here for the center part. So, some other things I did was welded some rebar here, and then this is their oyster shells. That way they can't knock it over, but you do have to keep it cleaned out, as they will fill it with stuff. A neat design I think I did was I welded some rebar down at an angle on both sides, and what that does is that allows me to attach sticks at whatever level I want, move them around a little. So on this other side, we'll go into its structure. I'm going to do a couple more videos on the electrical, the automatic feeding, and the automatic watering. This one is just a structural video. So see right up here, I welded the channel all the way down and over, and then I just slid that piece in, and this is just free floating. I mean, it's stuck in there, and then I put a piece of angle over the top of that, and then I put my roof on, and it was pretty easy. And my poles, my reclaimed poles, weren't quite long enough to get all the way to here, so before I welded them down, I just added the length I needed and went around it. I mean, it's strong enough I could stand on it. So I built this half first, and then I built this half. And let's see if it'll let me switch the panoramic in the middle of filming. There we go. There, maybe a little better perspective. But so this one is actually just nestled up against the wall of this one. This is the wall of the old one. So technically, if I pull this back, there's just a hole right there. There's no, that's the side of the other one. So it's just nestled up. I did put doors in, but these are two different flocks. They haven't met. They're not going to. But if I wanted to, I could open that door and let them go. And then I had another door. There's another door out here that I put in. Sorry for the mess. We're getting ready for winter or fall, colder temperatures. So this door, it swings in, and so you can put a dog carrier right here and scare them and push them into the dog carrier if you ever need to empty them out of the coop for extensive repairs or welding, that kind of stuff. Anyway, so I want to talk about the materials I used in this one. So this one is mostly, reclaimed scrap metal materials. But these are cages that I got from the government that were from an equipment locker, and they were panels. So they have a 2-inch tubing top that comes over, and then I put these columns in, and they're actually supporting the water system. Let's get you in there. Which they have two 55-gallon drums inside, and the sparrows like to live up there. I had to put in this netting because the chickens were actually the chickens were actually going up and roosting up on top of there, and then they couldn't get down because they're afraid to come down. So I I put the netting to keep the chickens from going up there, but the sparrows still get in there and go up there, and there's probably a couple asleep up there right now. Yep, see there's one over there in the corner. And there goes one. Yeah. So, for the structural over here on the oyster shell, I just welded a piece of, so you can see that, just welded a piece of chain to the pipe. I actually did that one last night because it was just hooked over to here, but just having it free swinging and ready to go. And then, yeah, had to close up some holes for the sparrows. I'm not doing a very good job. And then the other question might be, what is this used for? I have one in each coop. There was a time when I was clipping their wings in case they got out, but they're not escaping from here, so I kind of quit clipping their wings. It was not worth it. But this allowed me to make a loop and put their feet through and hang them upside down. And then I could clip their wings by myself. Didn't need to have anybody help hold them or whatnot. So I think that's about it for the structural part. I mean, the roof is strong enough. I can walk on it. I just walk where the poles are. I look for the screws. And I just step there and I step there. But yeah, so that is the structural part of a reclaimed scrap metal chicken coop that, all in all, I think I spent maybe $100 tops on the whole thing. And that's when it comes to structural. That's just buying rebar and a couple pieces of pipe that I needed just to finish off what I didn't have in my scrap pile. So I'm going to be doing a couple more videos. I'm going to do one on the automatic feeding, one on the automatic watering, and one on the electrical. So stay tuned.